right at 11. Spam. Spam. I like your house, by the way.
Thanks. I cleaned it just for you.
I'm glad. I like your chandelier though. That's really cool.
We actually just talked about changing that out, but I don't know what I would change it out to anyways.
I like it.
We will give people a little bit of time to join.
Yep.
Is this my portion?
Yep. Are you working a lot with buyers right now? Are you seeing a slowdown like everybody else is?
I've got both. I've got buyers and sellers right now, but I have more sellers getting ready to sell.
That's what's
than
happening.
buyers.
Yeah.
Yeah, my buyers have kind of just sat and waited, and they're just saying like, we're just gonna wait until the rates chill out. And
I know. That and prices start dropping is what
Yeah.
I keep hearing, which is
Yeah.
not going to happen. If it does, it'll just drop down to what it should have been in the
Well,
first place.
yeah, the people who are dropping are the people who overpriced to begin with.
Right.
So
Yeah. No, that's what I'm seeing too. All right, so I see a couple of people on already. Hello, I'm Darla. This
I'm
is
Kourtney.
Kourtney. We are here today. Thank you for joining us on Real Talk Live, where two friends talk all things real estate. Today we are going to be talking to buyers. We're going to be talking about the process, why you have a buyer's agent. We're going to talk about how you start, where you start, why you start that way. We're going to talk a little bit first about the market and where we left off last week, because I want to make sure that we start in the right context today with why buyers, what we're seeing happening in the marketplace. And there's still a whole lot of news stuff going on that's, kind of screaming at people about the markets crashing and things like that, which is absolutely not.
A lot of fear.
A lot of fear.
A lot of fear going on.
Yeah,
for sure.
we're gonna use the words normalize, because that's exactly what's happening in our marketplace right now. We are still at record low interest rates. We are still currently at low inventory levels. We're starting to see both of those kind of normalize back to where they should be and where they were pre-pandemic. And we'll talk about that today as we're going through our live. So if you've checked out the last week's live, we talked about the state of the market. If you missed it, the YouTube link is going to be on here. We are uploading these to YouTube where you can reference them back. Or watch them, forward them with friends or whatever that you see that are starting to look, or maybe they have some questions. Hopefully that will answer some things for y'all. So where we were in the market before, the Feds started raising the interest rates. Our inflation was going out of control, and they started raising the interest rates to kind of slow things down a little bit. So where we were at 2.5%, 3.5% back in November, starting in January or so, they started upticking the interest rates, which affect home buyers. And while they're still taking a look at that, we are still right at, some people can get around still under 5%. So
which is a normal interest rate. And
absolutely.
I think that a lot of people, we've honestly been spoiled the past, 10 years or so with the interest rates, but not that I'm in my early 30s. So someone like me, a lot of buyers buying a home at this point in their life, we are used to seeing these, 3%, maybe 4%, 4.5%. So we've been kind of, used to seeing this, but we've also been spoiled. So I didn't know, obviously I was not born yet, but
right.
In the 70s and 80s, it's obviously very clear that people were buying a home at 13, 14, 15% interest.
My first was 12% back in the 90s.
So that is, for me, that is,
Hi, Cheryl.
that is insane for me, right? For someone who's 32 years old. But it's a very normal interest rate, and I think we've been spoiled for sure. But the fear that's been, blasted lately that I am not liking is that they're just scaring everyone off with these rates when it's really just a normal rate.
It's
so
absolutely
that's
normal.
the fear thing kind of going
Right.
on.
And I think where we saw the inventory go kind of wacko is because those interest rates had been dropped so low that people that weren't able to get into the market before, all of a sudden it became extremely enticing to them. And all of a sudden,
the buying power.
Right. The buying power increased. So then all of a sudden we see all these buyers getting into the market. And so the inventory starts shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. Now we're leveling off and normalizing where our interest rates are normally around 6 to 7%. Our inventory levels to be normal is somewhere between 4 and 6 months of days on market. And right now we're still sitting around 2 months.
Low. Yeah,
we're still
inventory
really
is
low.
still definitely low. And if you do business with First American Title, especially other realtors and other associates who may be watching, they send out market updates like this and still tell you basically how far behind that inventory is. So yes, inventory is absolutely still low. That is a definite fact.
And are you seeing the same things with your buyers that the rest of us are seeing, where people are just they're taking a break for a second? And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that over the last year, buyers are weary. They've been
they're tired.
Multiple offers. They're losing homes like crazy. They're watching the market
tired.
just, basically get sucked out from underneath them. So with the positive with this, what we are seeing is our inventory is starting to creep up. The numbers are creeping up on us. So sellers are still putting their homes on the market. Yeah. And there are still buyers looking. But what we're seeing is it's starting, instead of it being, sellers down here and buyers up here, we're starting to see that shrink a little bit.
Yeah.
So buyers now, you have an opportunity now where you're not having to go in over asking and put in all these different, avoid any kind of concessions with it and not ask for any repairs and not do inspections. We're starting to see all of those things disappear on the offers, which is really great news. I had one this week at $125,000. We were able to go in under the list price and we got it. So, those things, all really good news for both sellers and buyers, because the sellers are still being able to have equity and our buyers are still being able now to go back into the market and you're able to get under the contract.
I'm seeing that. I am seeing, keep in mind, if you are a buyer and you are buying in an area that is going to have top-notch schools and so take Kingwood, take the Woodlands.
Cypress.
Those homes are still flying off the market. Those homes are still multiple offers, unless they are just way overpriced. I just, closed on one in the Woodlands and we ended up going, I think, 40,000 above asking because we were in a multiple offer. So just keep in mind, if you are buying in a high traffic, highly desirable area, with really, really good schools, very competitive schools and a lot going on, then yes, you are still going to see those high prices and you are still going to pay that top dollar regardless, from what I am still seeing anyways.
But we are seeing more opportunities open.
More opportunities, yes.
For sure.
Which more inventory, and a lot of the new inventory is new construction because the home builders are putting them up very, very quickly. I've seen a couple of new home builders kind of pump the brakes, we may be putting up too many homes and get ourselves into a position where we can't necessarily sell all of these because remember the builder is trying to sell those as fast as possible.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get into buyer say. We're going to talk about a couple of things. Questions a buyer usually has, which we hear this a lot. The first question is, where do I start? We're going to cover all of these. How much does it cost to buy a home? How do I find a home? What's the best way to go out? Because there's a lot of portals out there. And how does the process work? How do I buy it? Okay, so we're going to talk first. Kourtney, what is your best advice for where a buyer should start if they're even contemplating? Let's say you're currently renting and you're thinking, you know what, I've been hearing all this. Let me see, maybe I can buy a home. So where do you suggest that they start?
My best advice is to start, if you're a buyer and let's say you're in a lease, like you just said, you're in a lease, you're in an apartment, you're kind of thinking about buying your first home, your very best thing to do is going to be to get in contact with a great realtor, an experienced realtor, because we can be the ones to say, hey, listen, let's talk about this. Let's get you a game plan together, because the most important thing is that you know what your goal is, and then you've got a roadmap to get there. So that's what we are here for. And if you are just starting out, you know, hey, buying my very first home, call your realtor, call a realtor, get a recommendation from family, friends, whoever you've seen have a successful experience with a good experienced realtor. When you start there, obviously your first step is going to be to get pre-approved. You have to get pre-approved for a mortgage if you're going to be financing the property. And we work with our preferred lenders. We've got really, really great lenders who we love, we trust. We've been doing business with them for a really long time, and we trust that they are going to take care of our clients and get us, you know, through our transaction without anything going on.
Absolutely. Well, and I think it's also important to say that not all lenders are the same. So if you go to your credit union because that's where Uncle Sam told you to go,
they don't
necessarily
specialize in mortgages. You know, credit unions, their number one, you know, goal is not necessarily mortgages. Do they offer them? Yes, probably. Do all of them offer them? No, maybe not. But, you know, the thing with traditional banks or credit unions is you've got to either physically walk into there to get an update or hope that you catch them on the phone when they're in the office physically. Right. Because, you know, having to do that just kind of is too much waiting when our lenders are at our fingertips. You know, if you know, and I mean, just today actually, my buyer's
Saturday
in process
at 10 a.m.
of getting, my buyer, I just sent a buyer for pre-approval this morning, about 2 hours ago. And, you know, here in a couple of hours, I'll be texting my lender, hey, have you received our app yet? You know, what's going on? What does their file look like? Can we start to house hunt? Learn your buying power, you know, so once you've met with the lender, a lending application takes 15 minutes. It's 2022.
Yeah,
we have access.
Most of them are on a portal these days.
They are online. 15 minutes, you're done. Most lenders are going to turn around that app in, you know, just a few hours. They may not have a full pre-approval issued, but they're going to tell you, hey, I've got a green light, or hey, you know, whoa, let's pump the brakes here. We've got to go into credit repair, or we've got to go. We've got to pay off some debt. There's a lot of things that go into it that I think that people
don't realize.
Don't necessarily know, okay, what all does it take? So
well, and each lender, their underwriting, because we have to, once your file is sent into the lender, it goes into what's called underwriting. And the underwriters are the people that really final approval for your loan. And every underwriter with each lender is different in what they require. So a bank is backed by depositors. A lender could be backed by a financial institution out of New York. So they all have different risks that they're looking at. So from one bank to another or one lender to another, it's going to vary. So it's important that your realtor be connected to preferred lenders that they have worked with on a consistent basis, that they know, okay, so she has credit issues, we need to send her over here. They have a jumbo loan, this lender is really good at getting jumbo loans closed. Or we have a mobile home with a septic system. Not all lenders are going to lend on a mobile home. We have to know who does that. So you have to be connected with a realtor that really is on top of and closing a lot of contracts, because
I think
things change all the time. During COVID, I mean, within weeks, underwriters were changing what they were approving and what they were
because
back.
You know, and I was just kind of going over this yesterday, not to get off topic, but a lot of people during COVID were being compensated differently than they normally would have. If you take, for example, a nurse, a lot of overtime, you know, nurses during COVID became traveling nurses. Well, all of a sudden they start making all of this money, And then that's not sustainable because, you know, the underwriter sees it as, oh, COVID is not going to last forever. So that pay is not going to be sustainable.
Pipeline workers that had per diem. Whereas before it was put into their income because it was given, but all of a sudden guaranteed, and then all of a sudden the underwriters are going, well, people are starting to lay people off, and then they started negating that. So during that whole process, it's important that you have somebody that works closely with their lenders because at any given moment's notice, these things could change, and our lenders are going to talk to us about it.
And a lot of it is, you know, kind of stems back to what I was saying about an experienced realtor. If we've been doing this for 10 plus years, you know, we have the experience. And I don't know about you, but anytime my family knows I absolutely hate flying. But when I get on that plane, like, let me tell you, I'm trying to see how old that pilot is because I want to know how long you've been flying airplanes.
Right.
Like, you know, yes, it's not just, it's my life on the line, right? It's not my money necessarily, but I'm trying to have like a really old pilot because I'm like, cool, you know what you're doing. You know, so you're looking to start out by getting in touch with a realtor who is experienced. And ask them, how many
experience,
homes do you
I will
sell?
say this, experience is not age.
No, it's not.
Let's make sure we get that clear. Experience is not age. Kourtney and I are many years apart. I won't go there, but we're many years apart. But Kourtney has closed as much or as many homes as me or her mother has, and she's not even close to how old we are. So Kourtney's experience is vast because she's done a wide range.
I also started very young.
And she started young. So age is not necessarily experience. What it comes down to is how long have you worked, but also how many transactions have you done.
You want to, when you get a grip on, you know, starting out and acquiring a realtor, ask them the questions that you truly want answers to. How many homes do you sell per year? Can you show me? Okay, because we have ways of showing you how many homes we've sold. Look them up. Look what their reviews say. Do they seem like they're going to be a good fit for you? Because every single realtor is going to be so different just like we all are as humans anyways. But, and, you know, just because, you know, I may produce X amount and she produces X amount, you can put us in the same room together. And actually, Judy talked about this yesterday. She said, you could bring in 6 of us, all that work for the same brokerage, and we are all very experienced realtors. You may be going to sell your home, and we may give you 6 different numbers. That is very likely. That is very likely to happen.
Or the personality and how you interact with people. You may need somebody that
may need
more nurturing and more hands-on, and you may want somebody to just send me a text or, you know, update me through emails. Yeah.
What style and how do you communicate? So, you know, for my mom, for Judy, she communicates on email and text. I think because we are just in so many appointments at you know, all hours of the day, phone calls back and forth, we tend to just miss so many calls because we're either, you know, in an appointment, in a closing, we're showing homes.
We usually have someone with us or we're driving down the road.
And then for me, you know, same. I prefer, okay, if you can text me, hey, like I can get you a quicker response. But what works for you? What works for you as a buyer? Do you want them to call you? Do you need that call? Do you hate it when people call you? Like there's so many types
there's a lot of personality that goes into it, experience that goes into it, timing issues that go into it. So let's talk a little bit. Yeah, step one, realtor.
We kind of got a little
step one,
crazy,
realtor.
But step one,
us, realtor.
Get yourself a realtor that you trust and you've been recommended to. Look up their Zillow reviews. Look up their website reviews. Ask them how many homes they sell. So get in touch with a realtor, get pre-approved. Your realtor, if they are a good realtor and producing realtor, they will have a recommendation for you
a lender
to get pre-approved. I promise you.
So let me ask you this. If you get your pre-approval, do you have to go with the lender that you get your pre-approval from?
You do not.
So you start, so you know where you start. And then you can shop if you're not happy. Because
you can absolutely
lenders
get
are the same way.
on your own.
Yeah, lenders are the same way. They have their own personalities and how they connect with people. So you definitely want to shop if you're not completely satisfied with who you have or your rate. Because
and you
your
need
rate
to
changes,
understand
your
the
costs
charges.
change. Yes, you need to understand the charge. So let's go and let's talk about what does it cost. So as first-time home buyers, what do you see as their biggest obstacle? Real quick,
I think the biggest thing I want to squish is that I think a lot of first-time home buyers think that there is some massive program
that you pull from for first-time home buyers.
First-time home buyers
does not exist.
It does not. Now, there are certain down payment assistance programs that will only lend to first-time buyers. Yes, absolutely.
So what does it mean? What are those programs? What are they geared towards first-time home buyers? They're really geared towards people that this is their first time getting into the market and they may not have the mass resources that someone who's been in
down payment,
exactly.
Closing
so
costs.
It's really more about assisting those people who may not have massive amounts of cash to be able to get into.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about a real statistic, which is that the average American only holds $10,000 or less in their checking account on any given day.
Right.
With that being said, $10,000 is not enough to put a down payment down and pay your closing costs on an average sale priced home. Okay. Right. So if you are buying a $200,000 house, which yes, I understand it doesn't really exist anymore, just your down payment is $7,500. That's just your down payment. So if you are a first time buyer and you're watching this and you're one of us normal people, you may say, well, if I use that money, then I don't really have anything left over. Right. What am I going to do? Well, your answer is that you should seek a down payment assistance program. You are going to pay a higher interest rate. Okay, there's always a catch.
Nothing is free.
Nothing will be free.
However,
so it
can help you.
It will help you.
It can help you get into that home for sure.
You will, your best bet will be a down payment assistance program. So if you have not already taken the steps to save, a down payment plus your closing costs, go ahead and just estimate about 6.5% to 7% of the sales price of the home that you're buying
is going to be your down payment and your closing costs.
Your total due at closing. And then remember, a lot of times the underwriters want to see reserves. Okay. Right. Well, after you've drained, $15,000 to buy the home, we still want to see that you're capable of paying your first 3-month payments or whatever it may be. So if you're going to buy a home, absolute best advice is to save as much money as possible and lower your credit card debt or any debt if possible.
Right. We're gonna have lenders on in a few weeks that's going to talk specifically about where to start, what kind of reserves you need, where you are with the closing cost programs, what type of loans are available. So we'll get into that in a couple of weeks.
Over the past year, backing up to 2021, 2022. You were out of luck if you needed assistance. Closing costs, you were out of luck. A lot of the down payment assistance programs were shutting down because there was just too much volatility going on, too much unknown, what was going to happen, what was the market going to do. So you were just really out of luck. So if you are kind of now at that point where you're like, okay, cool, I see that things are starting the very beginning phases of stabilizing. Y'all know, if you even follow me on any type of social media, you see that my listings pretty much sell in a couple of days. And my listings right now, I have 3 listings, for sale, and we've all been on the market I actually listed them all around the same time at the very end of July. and we've all kind of just been sitting on the market. We're getting showings, we're getting activity, but no one is pulling that trigger. So to me, what that tells me is that the consumer out there is not willing to pay my asking price, is what that's telling me. So we're returning to that normal market. We're having to go to our sellers and say, hey, I know it's not 2021 or early spring 2022 anymore. Let's talk about a normalized market. So if you're a buyer, you know, kind of like sitting and waiting for that right opportunity to start getting pre-approved, you know, just know that people, now that we are at the very, very, very back end of summer, you know, we're kind of, I'm not even going to call it fall.
This is our fall. Yeah, this is our slow part for sure.
Yes, it always slows down.
Right when school starts.
Right when school starts. I mean, think about it. If you're a mom, I mean, I know myself, I couldn't even get anything done last week because I'm like, oh my God, it's me again. I've waited till the last second to start school shopping. Like, I have to go to the mall all week. So sorry guys, like I can't work, you know? So it really slows down, you know, the week before school starts. And then obviously the week that school does start, it's just a madhouse and you need to take a million pictures of your kids and you're trying to be that mom that like packs their lunch, you know, all that stuff. So now that, you know, they're shipped off with a Lunchable now, and I'm like, I hope you have lunch money. Now, you know, we are starting to see the leads pick up again.
Yeah, the leads are starting to pick up again, and we are seeing a lot more viewings as well. So the lenders, as well as your realtors, are important to know. Make sure that you work with a realtor that works with a lot of different kinds of lenders. And you do not have to go with the lender that you get your pre-approval with. Do know that. You're going to want to shop rates. You're going to want to shop costs, because all of those things at the end of the day are out of your pocket. So let's go on and let's talk real quickly about when you're looking for a home search. So there are a lot of different portals out there, and honestly, they are all marketing portals. They are not our MLS within Houston. Realtor.com, Homes.com, Zillow.com. Everybody puts a lot of faith.
Everyone loves Zillow.
They love those. And you put a lot of faith in the information that you're getting there. Just understand that it's not in-depth information. It is an overview that if you want real knowledge, you have to get with a realtor that is in your marketplace, that knows what those listings look like, that can be honest with you about what they're seeing and can do the research that you need. Our MLS, HAR.com, Houston Association of Realtors.
The most reliable
source. They feed into all of those other portals.
Everyone else is pulling from
those
HAR.
Portals are to get you, the buyer, connected with me, the agent. That is the purpose in those portals. So you may see a lot of information out there. Take it with a grain of salt. Get in contact with your realtor. A lot of times you'll see things on there that are not in the portal that we send you.
Well,
there's a reason for that.
Just so everyone knows and it's clear across the board, Zillow is a marketing website. It is not an MLS.
It is not an MLS.
It is not an MLS system.
The job is to get you to push the button.
Zillow has done their job. Let's put it that way. They've done their job of being a great marketing website. Can you agree?
Right.
So because people go there to house hunt.
It is very user friendly.
Yes,
it has a lot of information on it. We don't knock it at all, because sometimes it provides more to us than it does to when we're looking at hard. So whenever I work with my buyers, I tell them we're a team. You're looking, I'm looking, your mom's looking, your sister's looking.
Yeah.
Everyone is looking in different spots.
Usually,
the marketplace changes a lot.
Let's just say this. If you have a good connection with your realtor, and I can say this confidently, that 95% of the time, once I've met my buyer and I've gotten the rundown and I ask them those in-depth questions of what they want, I already know what they want.
Right.
And I already know where the perfect spot for them is. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I have totally gone to show a house that I'm like, y'all are going to love this. And they walk in and they're just like, this is the worst thing we've ever seen. Okay, like, what are you doing? It has happened. It's absolutely happened. But most of the time, we are getting to know you and your family and your lifestyle for a reason.
Is it good to see a lot of different kind of houses? It's good to see a range.
I think it's good to see homes that you love right off the bat. So I don't think that you should just see any and every home just because you're like, oh, well, I'm going to see if I get there and I like it.
And I will say that during COVID, that there was a little bit of a difference in that because the homes were flying off the market so
they were
fast.
Desperate. Yeah.
And
well, I mean, think about any aspect of your life.
Listing agents that don't do their job right, you can't tell as a consumer. Kourtney and I can look at pictures and say, no, that's not gonna work. Like if you're a specialty loan, like a VA loan, I can look at certain things and go, that's, let's talk about this because that's not gonna fly. So I can steer you in a direction that's gonna keep you from wasting your time. Because who wants to waste their time when they're looking for a home in a hot market? Nobody does.
If you're home browsing and you're like, like going through a home, you can tell in your first 3 to 5 pictures, I can say that safely, if you're interested in that home or not. If it is not like a light bulb coming on in your head, it's probably not going to be the home for you. If you're not already interested, right off the bat, right within those first few pictures, then it's probably not the home for you. Right. But are we here to absolutely show you if you want to take a look? Absolutely. I mean, there have been some surprises when I look at photos and I'm like, man, I don't know about that.
Well, because a lot of times it depends on how good of a job the listing agent does with the photos, with the angles, with the descriptions.
And depends on how good their photographer is.
That's exactly right. So a lot of it, our job is to market the home as the listing agent, right? Your job as the buyer is to tell us whether or not you like what you see. Showings tell us that we like that you like what we see. So we do a really good job of trying to make sure that those listings are the absolute bright light that we know how to attract the consumers to come in and see, what buyers are looking for because we hear it all the time in our ears.
Let me talk about this really quickly. Looking online, once you have committed to a realtor, let's just talk about this because I just had this happen.
Absolutely.
Once you have committed to a realtor and you say, okay, Kourtney, okay, Darla, you're my realtor. Like, you're my girl. Let's do this.
And you're still looking on Zillow.
And you're absolutely. Look on every website known to mankind. Go get a newspaper from the gas station if that even exists anymore. Whatever you want to do. But when you see a home that you like, for the love, do not
push the button.
Do not push the button that says I want information.
Do not push the button. That's not the listing agent.
That is giving you to the listing agent of the home who represents the seller.
That's putting chum in the water and the sharks will attack.
So
just saying.
Once you've committed to a realtor, spam us.
Send us the information. That's what our job is. Absolutely.
Just type us an address. I don't know, whatever you, however you want to send
on Zillow. Here's the address. Can you check this out for me?
We are the ones who
I'm
take
going
you
to respond super quick to you, and I'll be able to tell you right off the bat, that agent that's answering your call is trying to get you to the door. They're not going to tell you
that
anything.
They make twice the commission.
Right. Well, they're not going to tell you that home is in a floodplain. They're not going to tell you, VA loan that won't qualify for that.
They're
literally just
going to try to get you in the door.
They're trying to get you in the door. So you have a realtor, utilize that realtor. If your realtor is not responding to you,
then you need a new realtor.
Call one of us.
Yes.
You need a new realtor. Okay?
So that is, yes. So if you're searching on other sites, just don't click the I want more info button because once you send it to us, we have the same info that they're about to call you and give.
That's right.
And then the likelihood that you are going to not only be connected to them, but then you're also going to get spammed with a lot of their lenders who are paying for ads, that is going to happen as well.
Right.
So
just keep that in mind. Let's talk about new construction. So you're going on and you're thinking, well, maybe new construction is the way that I want to go. We're going to do this real quickly because in 2 weeks, we're going to have new construction talk. So if you are going and driving by and you want to drive into a neighborhood, you've been working with a realtor and you're like, that place looks really good. We're going to go in here. We're going to talk to a salesperson in here. I would strongly recommend that you be very, very careful how you do that, because once you go in that door unrepresented, a lot of times here lately, they have not let you come back in with your trusted advisor.
And just remember that person,
that salesperson in the door.
I love my builder reps. I have a lot of
too.
builder rep connections, and trust me, they want to do business with us. But remember, when you walk in a builder's door, that salesperson represents the builder, and they will always, and I mean always, going to repeat one more time, always do what's in the best interest of the builder.
Absolutely.
Not you.
So you go, feel free, do what you need to do, go in and ask questions, talk about that. Just let them know right off the bat you have a realtor and that's who you'll be using. And then you can.
There's a card. There's a card that you fill out.
You make sure you fill that out. Put your realtor's name on there, and then make sure when you leave or as you're going in, text your realtor and say, "Hey, I'm at this community. We're gonna pop in. Would you mind following up? We're gonna get some information, and then we can follow up, and we know what questions to ask that you may not know to ask, and we want to get in contact with them to let them know that you are interested, you are qualified, we have you set up." And then we can see what kind of incentives that they offer. We can see what the inventory levels are. We can ask the questions even above that you're not really sure how to ask. So
let's talk about a typical, just because I think that it's really important. What does a typical payment look like? Once you've gotten pre-approved for your loan and you're out house shopping, you probably want to know. You don't want to wait till the very end to understand what your mortgage payment is made up of, okay? So you need to consider you've got principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, okay? And speaking about new construction, if you ever are at new construction on your own without a realtor, this is why we're here.
Hi, Jennifer.
There are a lot of things that you need to know that may not be disclosed properly, kind of like unimproved property taxes.
Right.
Okay? Taxes, that means that they're taxing you based on raw land, not a home being there.
Right.
There are builders that I know for a fact tax on unimproved property taxes. So you're setting yourself up for failure there if you're not walking in represented.
Right.
And
the representation is key. It really, really is. You think you don't need it. You think you're going to get a better deal if you don't pull that realtor in there. They have already put the cost of a realtor in the cost of that home. So you going in without a realtor and thinking that you don't really need one.
That just makes them more money.
Well, not only that, but it costs you more money is actually what ends up happening. It ends up costing you money. So make sure, like we said, that you've got a realtor that you trust. And if you're going to go into a new home community, make sure that they are aware that you have a realtor. Follow up with us. Make sure we know who you talked to and where you went, and then we can follow up and we can get the right questions answered for you. Okay, so let's talk real quick about the contract to close process. So once you decide, you go in and Kourtney or I set you up, your realtor sets you up on a search. You decide which homes that you want to see. You go and you walk those homes, you ask questions, you make decisions, and then you say, here's what I want to spend, here's what I have to spend, here's what do we offer on that home? That's one of the first questions that we get is, what do you think I should offer? Mm-hmm. We're going to provide you with a comps sheet, which is where we pull from, if the neighborhood is big enough, we can pull from the neighborhood comps of comparable properties within the last 6 months or so, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, depending on how big the neighborhood is. And we can pull those comparables with square footage size, we can pull it with number of bedrooms, we can pull it with a pool, without a pool, and we can get you a really good idea of what people were paying and are willing to pay based on that number. And then we'll talk to you about what makes sense. If we're seeing over 100% offer price to list price or sold price, then we're going to talk to you a little bit about, well, you're going to have to come in at least at or over. We can talk to you about that. We can talk to you about any repairs that we saw that might need to be done based on the seller's disclosures. There's a lot of things that go into what we recommend to you as a range on what you can offer. You make the final decision and then we go with that, okay? So from there you make the offer. Then we do the negotiations with the seller. If they come back and they say, they'll either say yes, no, or they'll counter your offer for you. And then we kind of talk through what makes sense with that. So let's say now we've negotiated everything, Kourtney, and we are executed. Now what happens with the execution?
So after you're fully under contract and, both parties have signed off on the contract and the contract's been delivered to the title company, you are then going to deliver your earnest money and your option fees. Those monies, I would think of them, however you want to think of them, as a deposit or a good faith money.
Skin in the game is what I use with people.
Yes.
And what's the normal amount?
Down.
What's the normal amount?
So, oh God, what is normal anymore? Because
in a normal market, it was 1%.
In a normal market, 1% earnest money. So if you're buying a $200,000 house, $2,000 earnest money is placed at the title company.
Yeah.
Option fee, I don't even see anything over a 7-day option period anymore. And honestly, you don't need more than a 7-day option period, in my opinion.
What do you do during your option period? What's it for?
You're going to get your home inspected. And if you want to, just know that you're absolutely free to conduct any inspections that you want. So if you get your home inspection done on day 2 and the inspector's like, hey, this AC's running kind of funny. I'm not liking it. It's not cooling properly. Go ahead and get your AC tech scheduled to take a look at it as well during the option period.
Make sure you know what you're getting into.
You have to be able to provide that seller with something tangible that is going to say, okay, we really do have a problem, and you're not just making this up, or you're not just trying to get some money out of us, whatever. So you're going to conduct your home inspections during this time.
Now, is your home inspection, is it extremely detailed and in depth? Or is it just kind of an overview?
It is extremely detailed, and it should be extremely detailed. If you're buying a home built in 1990 and the inspection report is 11 pages long, you have a problem. Your inspector should
be this thick and scare the absolute crap out of you as a buyer.
Inspection reports are designed to pick the home apart.
Remember, you're paying someone to pull out each and every problem that home has, right?
Yes.
That's their job, is to provide you with information that you can go in and you can make a determination if this is something that you want to go through.
What is major? I mean, look at if you are buying a resale home, there's going to be wear and tear on that home. There's going to be
You're not buying a new home, and even new homes have lists this long.
And now, you kick that back to the builder, and the builder, very likely corrects a lot of it.
Right.
But keep in mind, the builder is getting an inspection report based on their engineers, and then a home inspector may have a different view on something. So don't get too worked up over it, but the realtor will then send the report to the builder and say, hey, listen, all these things are things that my home inspector found. How do y'all feel about these? Are you going to correct them? What should we know? But if you are buying a resale home, there is going to be things on that report that are wrong, that are wear and tear, that are out of code, especially electrical code.
Right.
Code changes every single year. Just because something is minor wrong doesn't mean we pull out of the contract. It doesn't mean that you lose your mind and start panicking, okay? Because my home was built in 2018. If I sold it today, I would probably have a 40-page inspection report, because it's just, there's wear and tear. There's things that I may not even know are going on. I could have a leak right now that I have no idea. So just keep in mind that there's going to be stuff on that inspection report, and just try not to panic. These are things that we see every day, and I think it's kind of the same thing when you're going into something new. Like, if that person does it every day, you feel more confident, because you're like, okay, well, I trust you. You do this all day.
And we also know that a lot of buyers have their own personal things that they bring when they're looking at a home. Maybe they've had flooding before. Maybe they've had a pipe burst. So those things are extremely important to them, and we totally understand that. So when we're going through those inspection reports with you, what we're trying to do is ascertain whether or not you need special inspections, like a roof or plumbing or electrical. And then we're also trying to help you decide, based on that report, what is really important. Because if you hand this report back to me and you say, I want them to fix absolutely everything, no seller will ever agree to that. They just won't. So we're going to try and go through and pick out the things that are really important to you.
What are the deal breakers?
What are the deal breakers? So
what
let's say,
what are the things that any reasonable person can say?
Right.
Listen, this needs to be fixed, and would I want this to be fixed if I were buying a home?
Right.
So loose doorknobs, no, we're not asking for that. Light bulbs, we're not asking for that.
Right. A leaky toilet, that might be an issue. A hole in the roof is definitely going to be a concern.
Yeah, structural issues.
Correct.
Your major ticket things are going to be your roof, your structure,
AC,
foundation, AC, plumbing, electrical.
So structural, what I tell my clients, structural, mechanical, and safety. Those are the three things that we try to look at right off the bat to see if there's anything that needs to be addressed right away. So let's say that we've gotten through that inspection report.
Once you're through
that, you've negotiated out repairs. If you get there and you can't negotiate out the repairs, that's the purpose of the option period. You can pull out of that contract at that point. You get your earnest money back. You lose the cost of the option money and the cost of the inspections, but you do get your earnest money back. So let's say that we go through, we get those inspections done, we've negotiated out what's going to be done. It doesn't have to be done during the option period. It has to be done before we close. So we've gone through all of that. We've delivered our money. Now, as a buyer, your information, the underwriter, the lenders are coming to you saying, we need information, we need information, we need information. How important is it to answer and get that information back to them as soon as possible?
The whole contract, the entire time you're buying a home, time is of the essence. Everything needs to be completed timely. So if we are through our option period and your lender is saying, hey, listen, I need bank statements. I need a verification of employment.
How many times do they ask for bank statements?
A lot. They're going to ask you for things that you've probably already provided them, and it's not that, it doesn't happen, because it does. But every company and every lender has multiple people working for them. You've got your loan officer, you've got your processor, you've got your admin, you've got a lot of people. So if maybe you only send it to one person, if that person wasn't there, or something happened along the line, they didn't pass it on to the other processor, something happened there.
It's a patience hat for sure.
They are probably going to ask you for things repetitively, or they may tell you, we need this letter of explanation, and then you've got to reword it 10 times because they don't like the way that it's written. Right. There's things that they're going to ask for.
Well, and you have to understand that when a lender approves a loan, they're taking a risk. They're putting risk in what they're doing. So they're going to make sure that everything is on the up and up, all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, because at the end of the day, it's the risk that they're taking by taking that loan with you. So they're going to make sure that everything is on, it's on the up and up. So when you've got, when you're working with lenders, the last thing that they do as we get more towards the end of the closing process, they want you to provide those things again. They're going to call your employer again to make sure that you still work there. They're going to want to take a look at your bank account and make sure that the funds are still there. They're going to run your credit report again. We are not going to talk about the do's and don'ts today because that's a whole other segment. But if you go to the Hayes Team website, or if you go to my website at darlanunley.com, you will see there's a list of contract to close items there and a do's and do nots. That is very important that you pay attention to that, because
there's a lot of
those
things that you cannot be doing
can hurt you during that loan process. But we're not going to talk about it today. Make sure you look it up. Somebody will put the web addresses there in the contacts. So the next thing that we have is we're waiting on the appraisal. So once we go under contract, at some point in the very early stages, the appraisal is going to be ordered
by your lender.
Your lender, you don't have to do that at all. So
your lender is going to contact you and say, "Hey, listen, it's time to order the appraisal. What to expect there?" I would say in the ballpark of $500 to $800 on a regular residential home. Mm-hmm. If you are like farm and ranch, or you are a house on 10 acres. That's going to take a little bit more experienced appraiser, or a specific appraiser for that property type. You can expect those appraisals to run $1,000, $2,000 easily. Right. So if you're going to buy a $750,000 house on 10 acres, ag exempt, you're going to have an appraiser who specializes in that,
Right.
and they're probably going to charge you a lot more money, closer, I would say,
But
$2,000.
the lender is going to know
$1,500.
exactly what you need and who you need.
And they will collect,
and
yes.
they pull from a pool of lenders in the area. Every
Appraisers.
every lender is assigned an appraisal pool, and so they're going to pull somebody hopefully.
And the
that's familiar.
appraiser typically works for an appraisal management company. So with that being said, there's always a lot of things that go on that people don't quite understand, and blame gets placed on the wrong person pretty much. So just know that when your lender orders that appraisal, they don't have a connection with them. They don't know
control
them.
who does it. They can't call up Sam and
They
say,
are
hey,
not
I need you
allowed
to,
to
do this.
even talk to
Correct.
them. Okay, so
Correct.
it's basically a third party getting assigned to do your appraisal. At that point, that appraiser reaches out to the listing agent, the agent that represents the seller of the property, to schedule that appraisal. Now, anything that comes back, and just to touch on appraised value, everyone always looks at that tax appraisal. The tax appraisal is not that appraised value to buy that home. That is just what they're paying taxes on. That's what the county has assessed.
Yeah, your
deemed
property
that
tax
home
value
worth.
has absolutely nothing to do with market value.
So when you're
Nothing.
going to buy a home and you're saying, hey, Kourtney, why is this home listed at $300,000? I'm showing that it's only appraised at $205,000. What's going on here? I'm not paying that much. Well, that's not the market value of the home. That's just what they're being
But believe
taxed
me,
on.
your county tax appraisers are trying to fix that. So,
Yes, true.
Yes. So anyway, okay. So we have title that we have to deal with. Title is the
For appraisal,
title.
but let's talk about if it appraises low or high on appraisal, because that is a very common thing. If the home appraises low, couple of things. Either the seller is going to come down or the seller is not going to come down, okay? Those are the two things that are going to happen. If the seller is saying, look, you offered me $200,000 for this house and it appraised, you were willing to offer $200,000, but it appraised at $195,000, the seller can absolutely say, I'm not coming down. So either find the $5,000 or buy. Mm-hmm. Do we want that to happen? No, we don't. We all have the same end goal here. We're already 3 weeks into the 4-week process. We
Right.
want to see
Right.
that property close.
Right.
But you need to know the reality of what can happen. If it appraises low, that seller does not have to come down, okay? But are they going to bust a deal over $5,000? Some will, some won't. So just be prepared. If that appraisal were to come in low and the appraiser is saying this home is not worth this much money, there's different loan types that allow
Right.
for different things to happen, and we
Right.
can talk about that another day.
Right.
But just know that if that appraisal comes in low, the seller does not have to come down. Now, depending on how badly you want the home and what your resources
Right.
are, you may say, you know what, I want the home so bad, I'm in a moving truck already,
Right.
I have nowhere else to go. I guess I have to hand over the
Well,
$5,000.
it's always what I tell my clients is we always go back to the negotiation table.
Yes,
At
absolutely.
this point, if the appraisal doesn't match, everything that we negotiated before is all now back up for grabs again. So you have to understand that if you have an experienced realtor that knows what they're doing, we will work really, really hard to make sure both parties are satisfied, because we don't want an unhappy seller,
Of course.
and we certainly don't want an unhappy buyer. So we will. There are ways.
And
that
then
we
if
can
it
go back in
appraises
and do it.
higher, no, they cannot raise
No, they
that
can't
sales
raise the
price.
rate. You
and
have
say,
equity. That you now have equity.
That is just
in your
instant
home.
equity for you. Now, we don't disclose, and it is not required for you to disclose how much the home appraised for. So if you're buying a home
And
for $200,
we don't let anybody. We don't tell anybody what the home appraised for.
Correct.
Your lender tells
Yes.
you, and they let us know.
So if you're buying a home for $200 and it appraises at $210, great. You have instant equity right there.
Right.
But no, you do not have to pay more money for the home, and you do not have to tell the seller that it's worth an extra $10,000 there.
Correct. Okay. So we're about to wrap up here in just a second. We're going to walk through title really quick. This whole time your contract has been at the preferred or selected title company. They are going through and running your title work on the home to make sure there's no what we call clouds. There's no liens against the home, mechanical liens, contractors liens. There's no divorce proceedings. There's no estate. There's, no other parties that have to be gotten in contact with to make sure that they don't have rights to the home. So the title company's job is to provide you with information whether or not you get a free and clear title to that home. Most of the time, we don't have any issues at all.
No.
Sometimes things pop up. They were incorrect on a credit report, or they didn't know that they had a lien put against their home. We work really hard to make sure that those things all work out.
The title company, there is a charge every time you buy a home for a buyer and a seller. Each person pays the title company, and that's what you're paying for. You're paying the title company to research the title, make sure there is a clear title policy. Because back in the old days, people would just handshake and okay, it's your house now.
And then they come to find out somebody else owned the property. So
you want to avoid that mess, and definitely always close with the title company.
Right. And our your realtor should work with a preferred title company. Know that the title company is just as responsible for you closing on time as the lender and the realtor and the seller are. Okay, so your cost with that, those vary from title company to title company, with exception of the title policy. And so if you work with a really good lender and a really good realtor, we have title companies that we work with. We don't always work with just one. We usually have a couple that we work with. Some homes, it all really depends on what's going on with that home. I've had special instances where I've had to go outside of my realm and use different title companies that specialize in crazy properties, and we've been able to get things closed because, again,
or certain counties, if you're closing outside of Montgomery and Harris, you've got to use a smaller title company. But again, the underwriters in these title companies are just as picky with properties because it's a thing for them as much as it is for the lender. So we've got title working on that, and then now we've got the appraisal back. You've gone through your inspection period. Title's cleared, the title commitment, all the papers are back, your HOA documents are back. We've got a clear to close. So there's a CD, what's called a closing disclosure, that is sent out to the buyer, a minimum by law of 3 days prior to your closing date. You have to take a look at that, sign off. You have to sign off on it, execute it, and get it back to the lender. It may not be the final CD, but it's pretty darn close because sometimes they can things change a little bit with the numbers. They'll start to balance out.
They'll start to balance it out. So once you get that closing disclosure back to your lender, and we're going to set a date for closing, okay? And it's going to be buyer and seller typically do not sit in the same room anymore.
It depends on how good your transaction's going,
right? If you need a mobile notary because you work from home and you can't leave your house, or you work downtown and you can't go into work,
we make it happen.
If you're out of state, I've worked with a lot of buyers over the past 2 years that have been out of state. We have closed out of state, not had a problem at all. So you want to make sure that you, as a buyer, you sign that closing disclosure. That's going to tell you what funds that you need to bring to the table.
Your lender, yes. Your lender will tell you exactly how much money
final
you need.
Numbers. Yep. So once you have that, we're going to set the date, and then we're going to show up at closing, and you can either bring a wire transfer of that exact amount, or you're going to bring a cashier's check to the title company. There are no personal checks, and there are no cash at a title company. Okay, so
you can't just show up with your backpack.
You can't just show up with a briefcase full of money to pay for a home.
It's frowned upon.
That's not how that works. Even if you're paying all cash, that is absolutely not how that works. And believe me,
just go to grandma's house.
If I could just walk up with my briefcase and just plop it out and put out $400,000 in cash. I think Kourtney's had that happen to her. I've had it happen to me.
It was in a backpack though.
But yeah. So, okay, so we've done that. The one thing that you're going to do right before...
Clearly, I didn't do my job.
No. So the one thing that you're going to do right before you go to that closing table is you're going to do a walkthrough of the property. The walkthrough, you're going to do it kind of last minute, either the night before or the morning of. And you're going to make sure that everything on that property is fine.
I always do mine the morning of. I don't know about other realtors out there, but if my closing is at 10 a.m., I am walking that property at 9 a.m. because
Things happen.
For the love of everything, I have had an AC unit stolen the night before. That was very actually early on in my career, and I just did not know what to do. I just called my mom, and it was back when people were still stealing the copper out of, but they took not only the copper, but the whole condenser.
Right.
So
Right.
I've had it happen, but
not only that, but when the sellers are moving out, sometimes doors, walls
or
get
it's
punched,
not clean, there's
yeah.
that's just common courtesy.
Yeah.
The home should be clean and ready for move-in. But just know that along with, your experienced realtor
we know
should
what to
be
ask.
saying,
We know what to ask.
hey, please professionally clean this home upon move out. Make sure
Right.
you always ask for that, because if you don't ask for it, it's probably not
Gonna
happening,
happen.
because
They're in the
so
middle of
many
trying to get them
times,
out, and it's
if they're too crazy or they lack common courtesy, you walk in and the home is gross. We don't ever want that to happen. We want you to have a good experience.
Right.
And that's what we're here for. That kind of all stems back to having a good realtor.
Right.
That's what that's what we're here for.
Yep. So once you go through that walkthrough, you're going to go to the closing table. You're going to meet with
you're going to sign
your
life
realtor's
away.
going to be there. Your lender could possibly be there. Your title agent is going to be there. And we're going to walk through that. They're going to go through all of those papers with you. We're getting down to where lenders are actually having you sign a lot of documents before you get there, depending on your loan. VA loan, which I do a lot
If you're
of those.
financing, you should expect about an hour to close.
Yeah, it's about an hour for the buyer. It's about 15 minutes or so for a seller.
If you're paying cash,
it's a little bit different.
10, 15 minutes.
Yep.
And if you're financing a home, prepare for an hour, and then prepare for up to, I always say up to, because sometimes the wires are just slow.
So hopefully when you walk out of there with your loan funding and your
But
keys.
I've seen it take up to 6 hours. I've seen
Depending on
it
the
take
lender,
all
sometimes
day.
it can take, and both parties have to sign in order for you to get your keys. So if the seller is set to sign later in the afternoon, you don't walk out of there with your keys that day. You may have to go back or work with your realtor to come in and get those at a different time.
And
so we work really hard.
We'll talk to you about that. You know, me, I'm a morning signer. I want my people to be keys in hand and moving in, especially.
We want
if it's
the
a Friday,
lender.
I am closing at 9 a.m. because, and God forbid it's the end of the month
happen.
because the title companies are crazy, the lenders are crazy, but we always shoot to close in the morning. I know I shoot to close in the mornings unless it's just not logistically possible.
And the lender has to get all those papers back, and they have to review all
Every
of
single
those
paper.
papers that you signed and make sure that everything's in order. So they need time to do that, and then they have to send the wire over. And so we're waiting on them to review and the wire to get over. And then by the time the seller comes in, all that information has been looked at, and then you get your keys. So we'll work all that out depending on the situation. But know that a good realtor is going to have all of that information, and we're going to be working really hard to make sure when you walk out of there as the buyer, you get to move in that day. And I will tell you, try not to ask for a Friday closing. It gets
I try to avoid them
insane.
if possible.
Thursdays are good because then you have, if it doesn't fund on Thursday because there are wiring deadlines or the lender, whatever, then you have Friday to get your keys, and then you can move in over the weekend. So we try to settle for Wednesdays or Thursdays. I know Fridays it's easier to take off work, but sometimes
if Friday, then definitely do a morning, or at least prepare for a morning closing, because that's your best case scenario to be able to fund.
Let's talk about, we're going to end. Let's talk about takeaways real quick. Make sure you have an experienced realtor, somebody off the Hayes team, somebody off the Design Realty Group. At least make sure that they are an experienced realtor that you trust and that you work well with. Make sure that you have a lender, that you get your pre-approval. That's your ticket to shop. You know how much you can spend or how much you want to spend, because they're going to give you your monthly note in that. During the contract phase of it, ask a lot of questions. Make sure that that your realtor has gone over all of those little blanks in that with you, because all of those items are negotiable for you. Once you execute, make sure that you start getting all the paperwork into your lender, and then answer anything from the title company or the lender or your realtor as soon as you possibly can. And then make sure you shut your finances down. We'll do that another day, but don't go out spending a bunch of money but looking to buy a refrigerator and going to buy a new truck. Please, for the love of God, do not do that.
Robert said I need a battery for my clock.
I know.
It's been like that for like
I know
4 years now.
Would you please stop pointing out all the details, Robert Yeager? Okay, so with that, we are going to. Kourtney has a couple of listings up that she wants to share with you today.
Yes,
I've done a hosting on a couple of them, and I'm probably going to do another one pretty soon. So tell us about the three
Just
that you
want to
have.
highlight. Yeah, I have 3 listings. So if you don't know, I live in Royal Brook and Kingwood. So I have one on Majestic Harbor, 5819 Majestic Harbor. It's in Ashton Woods. It is immaculate. I don't know if you've taken a look at it or not, but my people bought it and they never even lived in it. So it's still a brand new home. Seriously. It's listed at $535. Again, built by Ashton Woods. It's an amazing Mediterranean style. Huge 1-story. It's a really great floor plan. Massive backyard. One of the biggest backyards in Royal Brook. Listed at $535. Again, I would love for y'all to check it out. My second listing is going to be on 2402 Middle Creek in Bear Branch. That's in Kingwood. That is the heart of Kingwood.
It's beautiful.
Right, directly accessed. Yes, directly on the green belts, right in the heart of Kingwood. It's the prettiest home. It actually, I know that you know this already, but it actually burned down in a candle fire. The old seller accidentally lit a candle and left, and it got caught on the curtains, and the house caught on fire. So that home has actually been taken all the way down to the slab.
It's pretty much a brand new home.
It is a brand new home, 5-bedroom, 1-story. Okay, my dream. Seriously, my dream. Because I don't like going upstairs, and I love that home so much.
It's beautiful. 5
bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. It is about 3,700 square feet. It is a big 1-story. Huge kitchen.
Huge open floor plan.
The living room is huge.
Dining room, separated dining room.
Yeah, the primary is huge. The dining room is, I think it's like 20 by 18. It's massive.
Right. Even the bathroom in that house is massive, and they have a huge covered back porch and a detached garage in that place.
Yes, so. Cute home on a very quiet street.
Cul-de-sac street.
Yeah, it's not a through street, it's cul-de-sac. There's only, I think, like 8 homes total on the street, so it's a small street. It's the cutest home. It's going to be so perfect for someone.
I think it's zoned to one of the favored elementary schools.
Yes,
in Kingwood
you can't go wrong with
So
Kingwood
what's your last
schools.
one?
And my last one is going to be on Sage Villa in Tavola. It is a Perry home. It is absolutely beautiful. I sold it to my clients a couple years ago, and they are ready to kind of branch out and get some land and maybe go over to like Northcrest Ranch or so.
Move-ups.
But Tavola is awesome. They've got a lot to offer. They are a master plan community if you don't know. So they've got everything. Their elementary schools in the neighborhood. They've got a ton of walking trails,
amenities,
parks, pools. You name it. Their kids park. I'm extremely jealous of it. Honestly, I just want to know if you want to go after this, because there's a zip line there, and I know, like, I just want to go. I take my kids. I drive literally from Kingwood, and I'll take them to the Tavola Park because they have a zip line, and I'm jealous.
Well, I'll have to check that out because we got kids coming in.
Yes, so it's on Sage Villa. So check that one out. My other one is under contract, so hopefully we're going to be getting to the closing.
All of mine are sold, so I don't have anything to say.
I have one coming up actually next week. It is a home in Patton Village. One of my investors is flipping it. And it is going to be it's the cutest little cottage style. I have that coming up. It is on 1 acre. We're going to be listing right under $300,000 on that one. So a home on an acre for less than $300,000, completely remodeled, 4 bedrooms, 2-story. It's going to be a really cute one. So keep an eye out for that one.
We have all the links here. You can go to the Hayes Team website, or you can go to darlaandemily.com. You can look up under our featured listings. All of these homes are listed there. Make sure that you follow us on the Hayes Team. You can reach out to me or Kourtney. We both have Instagrams, Facebook. Yes. Kourtney does not have TikTok. I have TikTok. She does not.
I need to.
But I'm going to make her do a TikTok.
The train. I don't even know how to operate it. Right. But, and just so I don't know if y'all do know or don't know, but we have a commercial division, and if you don't know Cheryl Chinnan, you should get to know her. If you need anything commercial,
we're going to be talking commercial in
mixed use
3 weeks.
Is she coming on?
Yes, we're going to talk about all the new things that are happening.
And
in the
if
community.
you think that that commercial real estate is dominated by men, Cheryl will show you otherwise.
Exactly.
So because when I tell you, like, she knows how to sell some commercial real estate. So just remember, if you need mixed use, not just commercial, but there's a difference between mixed use, zoned mixed use, and zoned commercial, and then zoned residential. Cheryl, she doesn't typically do residential. That's what we're here for. But anything commercial strip centers, commercial raw land, mixed use.
Oh my gosh.
Anything
if
she can help you.
If someone walks up to you on FM 2090, you know who I'm talking to, and they want you to they want to buy your house on 2090, you need to get in touch with us, because there's a lot of stuff going on 2090.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening, is they're walking up, they're emailing and lettering people all the time, and you really need to be represented by a commercial agent.
And you need a real market analysis, not just someone walking up to you with a number that sounds good to you.
Right.
Because for all you know but what's probably happening is they're probably still lowballing you.
Could be.
Based on what they know.
But the biggest thing is commercial is a whole different animal, and there's a lot of the dates, the timelines, the requirements.
Commercial
the deadlines,
requires experience.
All of that stuff is completely different.
If you need anything commercial, Cheryl is your woman. She is experienced. She knows what she's doing. Right. She lives in Kingwood. She will absolutely dominate the male-driven commercial world. I promise you. So get with her if you need anything. She's amazing to talk to. She's extremely knowledgeable. So I don't know if everyone, does or does not know that we have a commercial division, but we absolutely sell commercial real estate all day, every day. Judy, my mom, she does it as well. Not as much. Cheryl specializes in commercial,
and I've done some.
Yes, me as well. A little bit of mixed use, but is it my most knowledgeable thing? No, it's not. I'll tell you right now, I'm not a commercial agent, but Cheryl is absolutely your person. If you have anything commercial, thinking about buying, selling, leasing, Cheryl's your person.
So thank you for joining us today on Real Talk Live, where two friends talk all things real estate. I love you, Kourtney. Thank you very much.
Thanks for forcing me to do this.
I know, right? The only way I could get Kourtney to do this, I said, I will show up at your house. I promise. All you have to do, she's like, but I have to get dressed. I'm like, just from the waist up, you're fine.
I was going to have a day off and spin today, and
I threw her all out on
not do anything,
but I'm glad she did.
But no, it's been fun.
She did. But thank you for joining us every Wednesday live at 11 o'clock. Next week, we're going to be talking about sellers. So if you're even thinking about what you want to do, make sure you tune in, because we'll talk a little bit about where we see the market, because there's a lot of talk about it right now. So make sure you tune in. Thank you very much. Y'all have a great week.
This at 1 hour, and it's
no,
25
minutes.
I'm sorry. This was supposed to be 25 minutes.
Thank you. Bye, y'all. See you later.
Bye.